Hello everyone, Social Coach Michael Knight here, and today we're going to be talking about the fundamentals behind flirting. And if you're familiar with my work, you know I love to dive right at the fundamentals of something, the first principles. I don't like giving tips that are like superfluous or miscellaneous, like, oh, run your fingers through their hair, see what they do. Oh, ask them a specific question about this, see how they respond. Right? Not that really specific stuff that's one-off, but the real fundamentals behind something. And the reason is, if you're stuck in your head thinking, this is what I should do, this is what I should say, it takes you out of the present moment and makes you come off as acting less congruent, and that by definition is not attractive. But before we get into the things that do work, please remember to like and subscribe, since that'll be doing me a huge favor when it comes to helping me grow this channel. The first thing to realize is that you should not look at flirting as being a means to an end. That is, you should enjoy the interaction for what it is, the interaction itself. The purpose of the interaction is just to have the interaction, to have an enjoyable, fun conversation, get to know the other person. It isn't to achieve something such as getting the person's validation, getting their number, getting them to go home with you, something like that. The whole purpose of flirting is to show your honest interest to the person while simultaneously doing it in such a way where it tells them like you're interested, but you don't need anything from them. Like it's not super direct and hard on, right? It's giving some space and room where you can see how they can respond and see if they're interested, and they feel like if they're not interested, they don't feel like really trapped into the situation. Because what you want them to feel is, if they're to decide to maybe meet you on a date for the next week, what you want them to think in their mind was, yeah, that guy he was relaxed, he was cool, he seemed into me, but he wasn't like super into me where I would feel uncomfortable and there's too much pressure. You know, if you're a good flirt, you're showing your interest, but you're doing it in such a way that's playful and there's not a lot of pressure. You're not like coming onto them like super direct and focused and this is like, I want this, I want you so bad. You know, that puts too much pressure on the person and scares them away. A good flirting person shows the interest, but takes a step back, waits for the response from the other person, doesn't just put the pressure on. Because later on, if the person's going to decide to maybe date you or go on a date with you, they were going to think like, oh, that guy was really relaxed, he wasn't putting the pressure on too much. You know, it's not a risk to go meet him for a drink. If I don't like it, I know he'll be chill about it and let me leave. It's not like I'm putting myself into an uncomfortable situation. So a person who's good at flirting is good at showing the interest while not creating that discomfort. And the discomfort is not created because you show them you're outcome independent. You're not connected, you don't need something from them. Maybe you would like something, you're interested, that's fine. But if they're not interested, you're cool with it. And that's the important thing to communicate. Some people take this concept a bit overboard and they take the not being connected to an outcome and they say, well, you should just ignore the person. That's a good way of flirting, right? Just, you know, ignore them, don't pay attention to them. And why do some people give advice like this? Well, it makes sense if the person's problem is they're way too needy and they come on too strong and that's chasing the people away. But the solution to that is not the opposite extreme of simply ignoring them, right? It sounds like decent advice. It might work for some people a little bit because, you know, if a person's so used to being chased by everyone, the one person who's not chasing them, you know, seems a little bit more interesting. There's truth in this, but in reality, to create most attraction, you got to be interacting with the person, or at least in front of them, so they can see you and get to know your personality and be doing attractive behaviors. So there's no need to ignore a person or play some validation games because you attract what you are in life. So if you're playing those type of games, you're just going to get a person who plays those type of games back. And in the long run, that's not really any fun for anybody. But again, that's not to say that you shouldn't be a playful person. What does a playfulness communicate? A playfulness communicates that you're just there to have fun in the current moment and you don't have some strict agenda. And that playfulness just takes the pressure out of the situation and makes it a fun interaction, not something where you need to get something from the other person. Think of the difference between a guy who's like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, I'll do anything to be your boyfriend. And a guy who's just relaxed, having fun, oh my God, you look so great tonight, I want to kidnap you, go to Vegas and marry you. Anyway, and just keeps talking and having fun. It's also in the energy, right? It's not always what you say, but how you say it. You also can be like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, I'm going to take you to Vegas and marry you, right? It can also come off creepy. It's not always what you say, but how you say it and the vibes you're giving. And again, if the vibes are playful, you're just there to have an interaction. You don't need anything from the interaction. You'll just see how it goes. You have that outcome independence. That's what makes it work, where you're showing that interest playfully, but at the same time, you're showing you don't need anything back from them. If you do want to give a person a compliment as a way of showing interest in them, choose a compliment that's specific and something they have control over. Not something general that they hear every day from everyone, like, oh, you're so beautiful, you look so nice, things like that. But something like, oh, I really like how your shoes match your dress. Oh, I'm really impressed that you achieved some accomplishment, that you did your race like this. That's really impressive time for the race. Something that's genuine, that you actually believe in, that's specific, and something they had control over, that's not just maybe how they look because that's how they're born. It's also important to remember that within an interaction, your actions and words should be done as much for your own amusement as for the other person. You're not just there to entertain the other person. You're there to have a good time yourself, with or without that person even potentially there. And when the person senses that and they feel like you're speaking honestly with them, you're making the type of jokes that make you laugh, not necessarily make them laugh, but make you laugh, that you're not looking to get something back from them. You're really just communicating freely, and they're like, wow, he's really communicating freely. I feel like I can really trust what he's saying because I don't feel like he's trying to impress me. He would say this with or without me there. And since I don't think he's trying to impress me, then that means I can trust his words more. And if I can trust his words more, then I actually can get to know him better and a real connection can form. And if you're at some type of social event, like a cocktail party where people are all mingling around, also don't be afraid if a conversation ends or fizzles out. There's no pressure there. It's fine, right? You're in the current moment, you're enjoying it. It can go somewhere, it can not. You have that outcome independence. And if the person wants to walk off, talk to someone else for a bit, that's great. That's actually normally a good thing. You can talk to someone else, you can build up your social momentum. Later on, you can talk to them later. Remember, if you're in the current moment and enjoying it, there's no need to get something from them. When you get that feeling, oh no, I screwed up and they're walking off, or oh no, I'm losing my opportunity, they're talking to someone else now. Where does that come from? That comes because you have a specific outcome that you think you need to be successful. And you need to disconnect from that in the present moment if you ever want to be good at flirting. And when the moment comes that you do want to exchange information with the person so you can meet them again in the future, be confident when you ask, not embarrassed like, I don't know if you have the time, like I'm not sure if you want to. Yeah, that doesn't show confidence. If you're not sure that they want to, they're not going to be sure that they want to. And if you have communicated prior to that in a successfully flirtatious way, where you showed playfully that you're interested in them, but you don't need anything from them, then they're going to be a lot more likely to accept your offer. If you're interested in learning more about the fundamentals behind attraction, feel free to check out my book, which is linked to in the description below. And for those of you who are super serious about taking your social skills to the next level and want to do so as quickly and as efficiently as possible, I provide one-on-one coaching, and an application to that can also be found linked to in the description below. Big shout out and thanks to my Patreon subscribers. Please consider becoming one if you haven't already. And like always, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, ciao.